And everybody thinks I have a grand master plan. I didn't. I've been motivated by fear. I think fear is a good thing.
And I remember you gave me that nudge. You said sales ain't hard if you know how. That gave me motivation, and my whole life changed because of that.
There's always a way. You just got to figure it out.
Yes.
And so when I run into something, I go, I know there's a way.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out. We are our biggest enemy. We are the cruelest person to ourselves. There was a drive in me to say, I need to know what they know. And by they, I mean everybody.
Wow.
You know, in business.
Yeah.
I need to know what you know. You know, if you follow me, you know what they are, right? Yeah. Gain new clients, retain existing ones, re-engage old ones, upsell the existing ones.
That's right.
I don't view myself as selling telecom services. I'm helping your business grow.
Yes.
Because you can't afford to lose business. You can't afford to be delayed on income. You can't afford to have your internet go down. You can't afford this. I care more about your business than you do, damn it. And so when I look at salespeople, I always ask myself, is it good clay or bad clay? Good clay you can mold.
Yes.
Bad clay you can't mold. But it's funny how as you get older, you realize there's so many things you worry about that don't matter. What you have on, what you wear, how much money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Rise of Entrepreneur. As you know, our mission is to inspire, influence, and impact. And today, that's what we're going to do. We have a special guest on our podcast, somebody that I met 8 years ago who spoke at a big conference. And what really inspired me about this gentleman is that as busy as he is, as famous as he is, as everybody wanted his attention, this gentleman stopped and gave me full attention. He took a picture with me. He did a video for my team. And most importantly, he gave me words of advice that changed my business forever. And today, this person is somebody that's completely transformed sales industry. His name is synonymous with sales excellence. This man traveled the entire world and trained top executives. He shares stages with people like Grant Cardone, Zig Ziglar, and many others. He has written 16 books, and he's a best-selling author, somebody that I look up to and somebody that I can call and just really count on, Mr. Victor Antonio.
Thank you for having me. What a great introduction, man.
Thank you so
very much, man. Thank you. It's fantastic.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. It's been a long time.
Why did you bring me here? Like, what were you thinking? Like, you know, how did the idea come about? I'm curious.
You know, I was looking back at my story, and I was looking at it and say, who has impacted my life? Who has shown me that there's a better way of doing things? Right. And today, you know, thank God I'm in a position where I'm able to do these podcasts. I'm able to step away from my business and interview legends like yourself to take the information and bring it to the people who need it. Because when I was growing up, nobody wanted to stop by and talk to me besides you. And maybe a little bit of other people. But you gave me that attention, and that made me feel great. That gave me a confidence. And I remember that, and I want to be able to do the same for others. So I know that you're somebody who believes in helping others, and I know that you have just bags and bags of information, and you can change a lot of people's lives. So the reason why you're here is because you're a legend in the sales industry, and I am in sales, and we have so many people that are following us in the sales industry that want to learn from you.
And you actually flew into Atlanta to talk to me.
I did.
I feel honored. Thank you.
I'm flying in, and I'm flying back out right after this.
I feel honored, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You grew up in Chicago.
Yep.
Not in the wealthiest side of Chicago.
It wasn't that wealthy, yeah. So
you grew up in the projects.
Yep.
Okay. Your parents are Puerto Rican.
Yep.
They immigrated to the United States, right, to Chicago. And your mom had third grade education. Your father had a fifth grade education.
You've done your research.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Absolutely.
Well done.
And you didn't have much growing up, but yet you didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me more about how did you not allow your circumstances determine your future?
Yeah. First, let's clarify. So I wasn't raised in the projects. I was near the Cabrini Green housing projects.
Okay.
We were just in the hood. It was not a nice house.
Okay.
But it's interesting how then you don't know what you don't have. You know what I mean? It's like I look at my childhood and I you know, there's a couple of things I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. But when everybody else is around you is poor, that poor is the norm.
Yes.
So if you think about it, human beings have a tendency. It's kind of a disease. I always say, you know, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And But when you're around people who are equally broke, equally poor, there's not much to compare. So you assume that that's the norm.
Yes.
And so I don't think I ever grew up wanting or needing something. By the way, I had wants, but I didn't need things. You know what I mean? There's things I wanted. I wanted that, my first pair of Chucks, my Converse All-Stars, which I never got. I always wanted a new bike, never got. Had to find pieces at the junkyard and build my own bike type of thing. So I had wants, but never a lot of needs. My parents were really good. Even though they didn't have the education, they worked hard. Both of them worked really hard. And so I think at that time, when you can eat, have some clothes, clothes was another thing, right? You go to a secondhand store, get your clothes or the hand-me-downs from your cousins, And so, again, when you're in that situation, you don't have a lot of money, but I don't think it's something that holds you back. So, and people always ask me this question, and you might let me answer the question, because people always say, well, Victor, how do you go from, as they say, the food stamps, the government cheese, the powdered milk to, engineering degree, MBA, and then, president of sales and marketing, $420 million company, CEO of a technology company, right? And everybody thinks I have a grand master plan. I didn't. I didn't. Here's the thing. I've been motivated by fear. Like all my life, even to this day, I am motivated by fear. I think fear is a good thing.
Okay.
Because it basically shunts complacency, because it won't allow you to be complacent. And so I remember, went through high school, and my last year, I told my mother, I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to take a year off before I go to college, because she really wanted me to go to college. I was the youngest of 7. You're the last one. My last hope, you're going to college. I said, well, I think we'll take a year off. She says, if you're going to take a year off, or if you don't go to college, you'll have to go work with your father at the factory. Now, my father worked at this factory. They did frame plating. It's hard to describe, but think of those metal frames, and he would plate them gold or silver. And I remember his hands were always dirty and gnarled, it was, I called it a black collar job, because it was beyond blue collar, because it was dirty.
Yeah.
And my brother dropped out of high school, and he went to work there, and it didn't go well. And so I said to myself, no, I think I'll go to college. And so one day I'm sitting, knowing I got to go to college because I don't want to work. The fear of going to the factory is saying, I got to go to college.
Wow.
I'm sitting in a class, and on the cork board, remember the old style cork boards? They put stuff on the board. They had all these colleges up there. And I remember I asked the teacher, is that a good college? He said, yes. Mr. Hodges. I remember that. He goes, yeah, it's an engineering school. I said, okay. I'm not thinking how hard this stuff is going to be. I go, this is my only qualified question.
You think factory's harder.
I think, so that's harder. I go, engineering school, okay. And then I go, do engineers make a lot of money? And he goes, yeah, they do. I said, okay, I think I want to go to the school. Yeah. And I remember, people think I joke about this, but I'm not. I looked at, there's a bingo card, I call it. It's a card that you fill out for more information from the college. Yeah. So I filled it out, and then they said, what major are you thinking of? And I saw civil engineering. I go, I don't know what that means. I literally didn't know. Mechanical engineering, I'm thinking, I don't want to be a mechanic. Aerospace engineering, Puerto Rican in space, not doing that. And I saw electrical engineering, and I could relate to that. Yeah. And I picked it.
Okay.
I did it for another college, and both of them accepted me. Wow. Right? Now, here's the interesting thing. The reason I chose the Illinois Institute of Technology to do my degree there is because they had the lowest, what they call matriculation fee, like a commitment fee.
Yeah.
One was $50. The other one was $250. And I didn't have $250. I said, we're going to go to this college. Yeah. And so that's how I chose my engineering degree. And so people think I planned this out. Now I'm in engineering school, and I'm getting my ass handed to me. I didn't realize how hard this was going to be. 6 months in, I realized I can't compete. I dropped all my classes, and I told my mother, I'm just not going back. I can't do it.
Wow.
It's too hard, right? Now, here's what's funny about it. The ironic piece is I graduated third in my class. I wasn't even trying. That's the sad thing. But I realized that an inner city Chicago school public degree cannot compete with other kids who go to private school or Catholic schools.
Understood.
So when I get to college, I'm like, what is this stuff? Like calculus, all this other stuff. I was like, I can't compete. And then I remember there was a Hispanic, I guess, guide or counselor there, Octavio Mateo, who literally came to our house because I dropped out my courses. I'm not going back. And he told my mother. And I said, I'm just going to get a job, make some money, help the family out. And he convinced my mother to send me back. And my mother's like, you're going back. And that's one of those nudges in life. People that come into your life that just said, no, you're not. And it pushed me back towards, as I say, I always tap them back to the center, right? Like guardrails, tap them back to the center. So fear drove me to go to school. And then the guy came in named Octavio Mateo and pushed me back in. And I've had stories like that throughout my life. I think that's why I'm generous with my time, because I realized that along the way, a lot of people tapped me towards the center and helped me along. They didn't give me anything. They just said, let me lend you a hand. Let me give you an opportunity. I'll give you a shot.
Yeah. And I remember you gave me that nudge at 10X GrowthCon when I first met you, because you said sales ain't hard if you know how.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, selling ain't hard when you know how. There you go.
And to me, we were struggling. At that time, it was very hard, right? How do I get the clients? What do I need to do? Yeah. So that gave me a lesson to go learn how to do it.
Right.
That gave me a motivation to go in and say, you know what, I'm not a school guy, but I can go ahead and learn this skill.
Yes.
And this skill is, it's teachable. So therefore, I can learn it and I can apply it and I can get better.
Learn selling. Anybody can learn selling.
Right. So I did that, and my whole life changed because of that. Now, you said something, earlier. You said, your dad had a, black collar job. And the moment of him blowing into a napkin and seeing black things come out of his nose.
Oh my God, you have done your research.
Yeah, I have.
You have done your research, yeah.
Tell me what goes through your mind as a child when you see these things.
So my father used to work on the second shift. And so he would leave at 2:30, 3 o'clock. So sometimes we wouldn't see him, right? Because we're still in school.
Yeah.
And so I was his favorite. I have his name, right? And the last one, and so it's funny because my father's dark complexion, my mother's fair skinned, right? And so only one of my sisters and me came out a little brown, right? So we like, we're like, hey, he's my father type of thing.
Yeah.
What's funny is that we didn't see him. So what I would do, I still remember this as a kid, I would get up, I would hear him come home at like midnight, 11:30 midnight. I'd get up out of bed and I'd go over there, and he's always watching this, in Chicago they had like 2 or 3 in the morning or whatever, or 1 in the morning, they had these shows, these old Westerns, right?
Okay.
Or 1930, 40 Humphrey Bogart movies, right? Whatever they were. And he was always watching them. I think he needed that time to kind of decompress before he went to bed. So I'd get up, and we got into this routine where I would get up, and he always had a candy bar for me. He always had this candy bar. So it's payday. That was the candy bar. Payday, right? And so I get up, and I knew he'd had a candy bar, and then I eat the candy bar. I'm sitting on his lap, right? And next morning I wake up. I usually fall asleep in his lap, and he just takes me over to bed. It's a beautiful thing, right?
Of course, yes.
And so that was my experience with my father. My father was always working. And so I remember one time I was like, he would always shave old school, with the old razors.
Yep.
And I just remember one time he came home from work, and, I don't know if it was, I was there for some reason. I remember he blew it in this handkerchief, and it was just black, like dust and everything.
Yeah,
and I just got, you're small, you're a child. You go,
course.
what is that?
Right.
Right? And it wasn't later till you realize what was that.
Right.
And it's like you don't appreciate your parents till after, you get old enough to go, oh my God. It's like when we become parents, it's like we appreciate our parents more.
Yes.
Other than that, so if you ask me what I thought at the time, I go, not much. It's only in reflection, when I reflect upon it, I go, wow, okay. So I try to imagine his daily grind of going to that factory, working whatever, the 8, 10 hours.
Right.
Not getting paid much, coming back home, not even understanding the language.
Yep.
And you go, that had to be tough, man.
Yeah, very, very.
Hard to complain.
Talking about fear and motivation, right? This is exactly why when, you making 300 phone calls and everybody hangs up on you, and you think about how hard your father worked. For me, it was 12, 15-hour days. For my dad, see him come home, sometimes because we lived in a refugee camp, soldiers would beat him up, right? He would do anything just to bring food over to the house and make sure that we had something to eat. So I would always put myself in the position of, look what my dad had to go through. You have no reason to complain. Pick up that phone no matter how hard it gets to.
So, I mean, if all of us go back far enough, we can't complain. Wow. We live, you look at society today. I've traveled the world, probably like you have also. I've seen a lot. So a kid from the hood does well, right? Gets to see the world. I've been blessed beyond comprehension. Like if you said, okay, you got a chance to write your own script or let life do your script for you, I'm letting you know that whoever did my script for me did a great job, because I've seen things, I've gone places, I've had these experiences that I couldn't think of. And the more I travel international, and this is not being disparaging of other countries, I was like, we got issues here, but this is a great place to live.
Yes.
And people don't understand, this is a great place to live. Even with all this division and all stuff, okay, I get that.
Right.
We're going through our growing periods. People have to understand we're not a very old country yet. And so I think people think that we've been around for 1,000 years. We haven't. And so as we go through these convulsions of life, I call them, it's starting to settle out. But I mean, you look at, how we live here in the United States, what we have, what we take for granted, everything from running groceries, food, apartments, all this stuff.
100%.
And so when I hear people complaining, I'm going, we all complain.
Yes.
Guilty, right?
Yeah.
But I put things in context. I'm just in a bad mood today.
Yes.
Right? But would I exchange another place for this place? No. And so I'm very grateful.
100%.
You often hear that attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
I used to think of that statement. I'm like, yeah, stupid statements. I used to hear it like, stupid statement.
Yeah, what a cliche way to say
What a
things.
cliche. Yeah, gratitude. Yeah. And it's only now as I get older, I go, oh my God, that's the secret. Because as soon as you become grateful for everything you have, you really reflect on every little thing you have, it's hard to be negative.
It is.
And so I think, so now when I talk about attitude of gratitude, I have a totally different perspective because I guess you have to live enough years where you go, I get it now. Yeah.
In our sales culture, in our, chat in the company, every morning you wake up, you have to list what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And this is what we teach our guys because I know how it is, right? It's easy to take things for granted. I came from absolutely nothing to the country that accepted us and gave us a dream, right? And they say the dream is free, but the hustle sold separately. Yeah. And that's 100%. But at least you get to dream here in America.
It is. The hustle is sold separately. What was the phrase somebody told me one time? It says, there's always a way. You just got to figure it out.
Yes.
And it's a really simple statement, right? There's always a way, and you got to just figure it out.
Right.
And so when I run into something, I go, well, I know there's a way.
Yeah.
You just got to figure it out.
Love it.
And so every time I look at something, and I go, there's always a way, especially if I see somebody else doing it, right? So for example, you were talking about cold calling. Of course, be grateful. Again, you're not going to die if the customer hangs up.
Yeah.
You're not going to bleed to death. And it's funny how it's usually, my brain went another way. Sorry, I got ADHD. Because as I'm thinking about calling, I always realize that people have a hard time calling because if I can talk to people who are having a hard time cold calling, they superimpose what they think the other person thinks.
Right.
And they psych themselves out.
I agree.
There's a guy by the name, I should call him a guy because he's got a doctorate. He's got Dr. Martin Seligman, University of Pennsylvania, wrote a book called Learned Optimism. One of the most impactful books I've ever read. In there, he talks about the self-explanatory style.
Okay.
And this. He says, it's when something happens to you, it's how you explain it to yourself that determines your attitude.
Interesting.
So for example, and he says there's three dimensions to this, right? Let's say I do a presentation or a demo.
Yeah.
I do a demo, right? And it didn't go well. The first dimension, personal. I'm such an idiot. I'm an idiot. Personal, right? 2, permanent. I'll never learn how to get these demos right. They use the word never. Pervasive. No matter what I try, it just never works out. So there's permanent, and pervasive, right? Optimists, here's what they say to themselves. All right, well, that demo didn't go well. What do we need to fix?
Right.
Totally different attitude.
Right.
As far as permanent, said, no, we can change this. We just need to adjust a couple of things.
Right.
Pervasive, well, last 2 went well. This one didn't go well. All right, we're still good. On the bad.
Yeah.
And that is powerful if you think about it. It's what you say to yourself.
Yes.
We are our biggest enemy. We are the cruelest person to ourselves.
I agree.
And so I learned this tip from somebody, and I thought, I can't give credit because they got it from somebody, and I don't know who was the originator, but said, when you talk to yourself like you would talk to your friend. Like if I'm talking to you, I would say, no. And let's say you're like, come to me and said, Victor, I'm not closing deals. I'm like, look, all you got to do is this. You can do it. I know you can. Just work on this, work on that. He said, when you do that, it's funny how we talk to friends like that, but to ourselves, we're very cruel.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I'm stupid.
Right.
And so they said, what if you can just turn that around and just use the third person when you talk to yourself? All right, Victor, you can do this. You've done this before.
That's awesome.
This is not the first time.
Yeah.
And so I think, and that's why I wanted to address that with cold calling, because I think it's what we say to ourselves that stops us. Sometimes there's this even, when we want to start doing something. I was talking to a client this morning right before this, and he said, look, the reason people don't want to change is because they have this imagined fear.
Right.
An imagined fear is what you think is going to happen, and it's usually negative, right? Yeah. And so you probably heard the story I tell about I had a little drip in my bathroom. Have you heard the story?
No.
So I had, true story, right next to my office, there's a bathroom, right? And so I hear this drip, like they go, tch,
yeah.
tch. And I'm like, what is that, right? So I go to the bathroom and I open up the cabinet at the bottom, and sure enough, there's a tch, real slow though, right?
Oh my God.
So, like any real man, what do? You fix it. How do you do that? You go to the kitchen, you get a bowl, and you put it under there, and you tell your wife you fixed the leak, right?
Yeah.
And so over time, the drip got more frequent, and then I put a bigger bowl. I got to a point where it was dripping so much, I got tired of replacing the bowl, and I couldn't put a 5-gallon bucket under there, if you know what I mean. So I made a decision to actually fix it.
Right.
I said, okay, come Saturday, this is it. I'm going to fix this thing. So Friday, I get all the tools, and then sure enough, I go get, Saturday, I'm like, all right, let's go in. It took me 5 minutes to fix this thing. 5 minutes. And so when I do 5 minutes, I go, the first question, let me ask you, what do you think the first question was? I fixed it in 5 minutes. What's my first question to myself?
Why didn't I do this sooner?
Yes.
Yes.
And so I stopped and I paused because I've learned to kind of have a meta conversation with myself.
Yeah.
When I say something to myself, I just think about what I just said to myself, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So I said, why didn't I do this earlier? And my brain says, oh, you know why you didn't do this earlier. I go, why didn't I do this earlier?
Yeah.
I'm like having this conversation. Feels a little schizophrenic. What happened was years ago, when I worked on plumbing, most of it was copper piping, not PVC, it didn't go well.
Wow.
So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, way back when, I worked on something, it didn't go well. What I did was I brought that memory forward.
Trauma.
Yes, that's a good way of looking at it. I brought that trauma with me, and it impacted my mindset when I saw the problem again. And I was like, but this time I overcame that. But a lot of people have that. They have this trauma. Something happened in the past. What they don't realize, just like I realized eventually, is that you've changed over 15 years, plus the technology's changed.
Right.
A lot of things have changed.
Right.
So when you're confronting something and you're afraid, you should ask yourself, well, why am I afraid of this? What's in my memory bank
Exactly.
that forms my experiences, that forms my mindset as to why I'm not doing something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you look at cold calling, that's one of them. Like, well, why did you cold call it? Well, why are you afraid?
Yeah.
And it's a good question to go down the rabbit hole with your sales team,
like
right?
that.
Even when you're doing, well, why are you afraid to present?
Right.
It's just a conversation. What happened? And then if you can pull that out, you go, oh, that's a trauma. If you think about mindset, it's how your mind is set,
Yes.
right? And so your mind is set in a certain way. You ever go to get glasses and the guy says, is this better? And he starts flicking things,
Yeah,
right?
My wife does that.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So what happens is that he's looking for the right level, right, for each eye. What happens is your brain is something like that, but it gets fixed.
Okay.
And then so you look through this lens, right? And so what's interesting, your lens is colored by three things: the knowledge you learn, the experiences you've had, and social norms. Here's what I mean. Here's what I've learned. That's how I look at this, right? Experiences, I've lived it. And then norms, it's what people expect from you. You know, the society impacting you.
Yeah.
And that's how your mind is set over time. And sometimes when we're looking at something, our mindset prevents it. It's set wrong, and we don't know it. So it's almost like you're trying to look out of yellow glasses and see red. It's not going to work. So you have to be aware of how you think. That's the meta level of this. That the reason I like the self-explanatory style to tie it all together is because you think about how you think when you really pay attention to what you said to yourself.
Right.
And when you're afraid of something, you ask yourself, you take that moment and go, well, why am I afraid of this? I'm not going to die. I'm not going to bleed. Why? And so hopefully that anybody listen to this, if they're afraid, they'll think about that.
That goes to 2 points I want to make. One is that almost what you're referring to is a fixed mindset and growth mindset.
Correct.
Right?
Carol Dweck.
Exactly.
Yep.
So how does one realize that they have a fixed mindset and changes to begin to transform into growth mindset?
So for those who don't know, so Carol Dweck wrote the book Mindset, right? There's a fixed mindset means it's almost like it's inherently fixed, and then the other one, growth mindset, you grow. But here's what I thought was really interesting. She describes, you can tell somebody has a fixed mindset because early on they were told they were great, they were smart, they were good, right? And when you told, and this is what I found fascinating about the book, she goes, when you're told that you're smart, you're great, and you're good, right? And all of a sudden, this is what happened to me. I'm in high school. I'm in elementary school. I'm killing it with grades. I'm not even working hard.
Yeah.
I get to high school. I got to be honest. I didn't find out I was third till about 3 months before I graduated because I didn't pay attention. I just said, get good grades so mom won't yell at me.
Gotcha.
Fear motivated me to get good grades, right? Now I go to college and I want to quit because, well, wait a minute. I was the smartest guy in the room. What happened?
Wow.
And so what that guy did was say, no, you go back in. And that shifted everything from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. He says, you're going to figure this out. Again,
what you know, what you experience, and the norm.
That's it. You'll figure it out, right? And so what I loved about Carol Dweck's book about a fixed mindset, you know you have a fixed mindset when you don't want to learn something new. Here's what I remind myself, and I literally tell this to myself. I'm going down the rabbit hole of artificial intelligence, just to give you an example here, right? And there's parts of this stuff I don't understand. I'm an engineer and I don't understand it. And I won't go into detail, but I go, Gah! And I'm listening to this guy talk on the video. He's being interviewed, and I understand about 30% of what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I'm losing 70. And I go, And as soon as I say that, I can't understand this, my brain has been trained to say, that's because you're learning. Yes. My brain's been trained to say to me, that's because you're learning.
Right.
You're going beyond your comfort zone.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And he goes, and then my brain says 2 or 3 more times, I bet you'll get it. It automatically kicks in now.
Wow.
I don't have to think about it anymore. So every time, if somebody's listening to this and they find themselves frustrated, just say to yourself, okay, this means I'm growing.
Right.
That's the only way to know that you're good. So again, if you have a fixed mindset, you'll just like not want to, I don't need to know this anyway.
Yeah.
Dumb guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
You'll kind of rationalize why you don't need to learn it. And so I've always loved the word rationalize. I think you heard me say this.
Yes.
The ability to rationalize to yourself, because that's what we do. We talk ourselves out of doing something because it's too hard. Well, I don't think I need to learn that anyway. But why don't you learn it? Because it's not important. You're lying to yourself. A growth mindset just accepts the fact that I don't know. And it's okay not to know. And here's what's interesting. As we get older, especially me, I used to think asking for help was a sign of weakness. I don't see that anymore. People, there's a double benefit here. One is when you ask for help, you get somebody's experience. They've lived it.
Yes.
So you get the benefit of that, almost like the cliff notes of life from them. But people never think about the other side of this. What do they get? That good feeling that they help somebody.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a win-win. Yeah. So asking for help is really a win-win. And so if you're stuck, ask for help.
It's funny you say this because on a Sunday, which was yesterday, I did a video for my team. And a lot of them, when we talk about technology, when we talk about different sales strategies, they feel stupid because they're learning new things because they don't understand it. And I said, your brain's going to play that trick on you. But in reality, you're getting wiser. In reality, you're getting smarter. Same thing when you work out, you feel weak because you can't lift that heavy weight, but you're getting stronger.
You are.
Right? And it's again, going back, what do you tell yourself and how does your brain respond?
I got a story for you. This is funny on weightlifting. So I've always been a real skinny kid, right? And so I moved to Minnesota and I'm like, I got to lift some weights here. Yeah. And so I go to Gold's Gym.
Okay.
Now at that time, there's these 2 wrestlers called the Road Warriors.
Okay, I know who they are.
Okay, so Hawk, I didn't know, lived in that area.
Yeah.
And so I'll get to Hawk in just a bit. But I'm going for my orientation, your first time visiting, here's the gym, here's this. And they go, okay, so let's get some metrics down, kind of like your baseline. And I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking I can lift stuff, right? And the guy puts me on an incline, and it's only like, the bar's only like 50 pounds or 70 pounds, 75 pounds. It wasn't that heavy. Dude, I could barely get the bar off.
Right.
And he goes, don't worry about it. You've never lifted weights, is what he told me. But in my mind, I'm like embarrassed. Like, I can't even do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that moment, I could have just said, you know what, I'm not going back. This is too embarrassing. And I've learned to get past that. Well, how do I get stronger? Right. So every time you're learning something new, you got to be humble enough to say, I don't know. Or in this case, I'm not strong enough. Absolutely. I'm weak.
Absolutely.
As soon as it's funny how you can take the power away from your weakness if you just admit it.
Right.
If you just say, if you told me, damn, Victor, you're weak, I say, yeah, you're right. I need to work on that.
Yeah.
I've just totally taken away whatever insult you thought you were giving me because I go, you're right.
Yeah.
Right? And so fast forward, I remember to really highlight how not strong I was. So Hawk comes in one day, right? But I'm over by the leg machine, right? And I'm lifting, I don't know, like 70, 80, 90 pounds, just doing some leg lifts like this, right? So Hawk comes over and I'm just like starstruck, but I'm trying to be cool. And he goes, can I work in with you? And I'm like, sure. I mean, what am I going to say to this dude's like this big, right? And it was just so funny. Like
motivational fear. Can't say no to this guy.
I'm not saying no to him. But anyway, so I'm like right here, I'm up here. Because it's like stacked this way. So I'm like whatever, 80, 90, right? He comes in, takes the pin out, puts it at the bottom to lift the whole thing. He just goes, and so I was like, do I have to go back to him? Because I'm only my first rep. And I had to go back to him and do it twice.
Wow.
But he was cool about it. He was really nice about it. But again, I think if you just can make yourself egoless.
Yes.
and not really think about that. In other words, not worry about what other people think. I think that's what stops us. We're so worried about what other people might think of us because they see us in our present state. What our present state means we're not perfect.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, you're not perfect.
Especially in today's world, everything is an Instagram highlight.
Yeah,
everybody just wants to show their perfect moments, their wins, and all that.
It's horrible, man.
Yeah.
Social media is horrible. I mean, it has its good side. I like it because I use it as a learning tool.
Yep.
And I discover some of the coolest things on Instagram. But I just scroll past people who just want to look at themselves or take pictures of their food, which I don't understand. Why do you take? If you're going to take a picture of your food, make it something spectacular. It's got to be so spectacular that you go, what is that?
Right.
And then maybe provide some description. But to just take a picture of your food and say, here's where I'm at, it makes no sense. I think that's using technology incorrectly. But anyway, I think you're right about the ego part and social media influence and trying to appear that you got it all together.
Yeah. For our listeners, ego is not your amigo. Right?
Never.
If
Ego
you
is
want to
never your
grow,
amigo.
you want to let go of that.
It's hard though, right?
It's hard.
It's hard because but I wish, God is cruel in this sense, is that we evolve, we grow up, right? And then as we get older, we get wiser, right? Wouldn't it have been nice if God says, all right, when you're on your deathbed, you can hand off your brain to your son or your daughter.
Oh, that would be
so
great.
They could start out. So they don't have to start from zero.
What an asset.
Right, that would be an asset. I'm just saying, come on, God, you could have made that happen, right? But it's funny how as you get older, you realize there's so many things you worry about that don't matter. People don't matter what they think. What you have on, what you wear, how much money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I'm all about quality of life.
I love that.
When I talk to people, I'm like, oh, great. I mean, so I got a friend who's got, I think it's like $20 million house, right? Love it. Beautiful. I'm like, this is a gorgeous house. And then I'm like, got a beer?
Yeah.
What do you got in the refrigerator? You got a beer? Because that's all I care about is your beer.
Right.
God bless you. God bless this house and your family. Congratulations for you. Got a beer?
Yeah.
Because I want to know you. I want to talk to you.
Exactly.
We're friends. I don't care what
That's
you have.
more important.
And I think we get caught up in that because I think there's a lot of speakers out there, you know who they are, I don't need to mention any names, who always talk about the hustle, the grind, having this, having the bigger car, having the bigger house, having this. And I'm like, with all these things, all we see though, what irritates me is that we see people with all these amenities, right?
Yes.
Big house, big cars. Nobody sees the weight, the pressure that they're under.
Right.
You have a company, how many employees?
160 now.
So I want you to imagine this, because people, this is the difference in mindset. When people look at you, right, they think of a pyramid, right?
Yes.
All these people down here don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They move up the pyramid, and there you are, making all that money, right?
Yes.
They look as a pyramid. But when you get older, you realize that it's really inverted. You put it like this now, you're at the bottom because you're supporting everything that's above you.
Right.
And they don't see it that way.
Don't.
They just see your shiny suits, cars, whatever it may be, and they don't realize that you're holding up the pyramid.
Yes.
You built it.
Right.
And that's a lot of work. And you have to ask yourself, if you want that money, you got to ask yourself, do you want that lifestyle? And by the lifestyle, I mean, you know what I mean by that? It's the stress, the going home.
Yeah.
I don't even know you, but I know you.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. You go to work, you're dealing with a lot of stuff. A lot of it's nonsense, a lot of it's good stuff. You're hoping that you have more good stuff than nonsense, right? You get home, talking to your wife, you're like, this idiot, that person, got to do this, got to do this. She's like, okay, but when are we going to take a vacation? When are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? How can we do this? You're going through and you're trying to balance all this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is a lot of work.
It is.
You got to check with the banks. You got to check with the accounting. Make sure everybody gets paid. You got to deal with HR issues. You got to deal with all this stuff. And so I'm always upset when people talk about CEOs make too much money.
Right.
I said, first of all, you didn't build it. You didn't create it.
Right.
And they're carrying the weight of the pyramid.
Victor, you could not be more right. And the biggest thing is when I go to sleep at night, I think about all 160 people that I'm responsible for.
Yeah.
You say this a lot. You say, our salespeople, they have families, right? And then those families become our family.
Correct.
And then our goal is to be able to put them in the best position possible. So a lot of people think that, they're CEOs that just go in and they go to Mexico, they go to, just party all day.
They have this fantasy of what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
No, good CEOs, they go home and they think about how do they make their people's lives better.
Right.
And that's very hard to do.
Yeah. I'm gonna change it for you and disagree with you just a little bit.
Please.
Because I want you to make the business better.
Yeah.
Because when you make the business better, you actually have the people that support the business.
Yes.
And when you have, by the way, when you have great people and you have a great business model, because you can't, unless you have a good business model, it doesn't matter how many people you have. And your job is to take care of the business model.
Yes.
Look at all the changes, adjust. And you're like the captain making the adjustments, right? You know that if you don't make the adjustment, the crew is going to suffer.
Yes.
And then, as I always say, what I love about entrepreneurs, business owners like yourself, is that you take care of the families. And behind each person, each employee, there's 2.5 members.
Yeah.
And you take care of those 2.5 members indirectly. That's the ripple effect of what you do. But again, what you do is very hard.
Thank you.
And so I think when people see all the, the nice cars, this and that, they're like, where there's a little bit of envy, they're idiots if they think it's easy.
Right.
Because I'm always like, why don't you start your own business? If it's so easy, you do it.
But that's another thing, right? People buy cars, people go on vacation, and rather than showing them materialistic things, like the view of where you are or the car, tell them the story, how you got there. Because maybe, the car is nice, but people don't care about the car you drive. People don't care where you vacation. They care about your story and where you came from and how you got to the position that you're in, so that way they can get there too. Right. People, when I post things, I want people to not look at me and say, "So what?" I want people to say, "Me too."
Right.
I'm gonna get there.
I agree with that.
I'm inspired by that.
Yeah.
So to me, that's very important to have the inspiration, but have a reasoning. Don't just go fluff your things.
Yeah.
Go and inspire others to go after.
There's got to be something, right? There's got to be something there. I used to think is a goal is something you go after, and I realized no. The purposes in the future has to pull you there. There's something that has to be pulling you there, because what happens is there's so many obstacles and barriers along the way that if there's not a strong enough pull to what that future is.
Yes.
And so the trajectory for me was, the day that changed my life was May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m. I always tell the story. May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m. So I'm president of sales and marketing, $420 million company, and I can't do it anymore. And so at that time, my base salary is 2001, $250,000, stock options and commissions on top of that. Let's just say it was a good year, type of thing. And coming from where I came from, I mean, okay, that's banking now.
Yes.
And so I remember talking to my wife, and so we talked about this back and forth. So she knows my mindset. We've been together now, 38 years, married 36, and so that. Like, my wife is my best friend. That's my treasure. That's my ultimate asset, if you know what I mean. That's the ultimate asset I have. So I can't put her on a balance sheet, damn it. But it would, can't calculate this value. And that's a big note, by the way. If you can find the right partner in life.
Oh yeah.
If you find a good partner in life, I think that's 80-90% of the game.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says, because a good part, 80-90% of the game. But I remember we talked about this, and she goes, and she knew I wanted to quit. I'd seen Zig Ziglar years before that, and I said I want to be a speaker, and I want to write books. And so it was in me, that quiet discontent is what I call it. It's very quiet. It sits there, but I'm not happy. Quiet discontent. And so May 9, 2001, 3:48 p.m., I remember calling the chairman and says, I quit. Long story short, Victor says, you lose everything. I said, I understand. I just can't do it anymore. And I remember the next day, I tell the story in the documentary. It's online. You look at The Motivator, Victor Antonio. I tell the story how about the next day, I wake up and I'm like, what did I do? Like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Right? And his fear it was almost paralyzing. And I was like, okay, I got to shake it off. Like, okay, but I made the decision. Yeah. And I remember my first year, so it was May 9th, June, let's say I started July 1st, just to put a time frame on it. From those first 6 months, I only made like $17,000 speaking. 17, not 70.
Right.
And I'm like, what did I do? And then the second year, I remember I made as a speaker like 56,000, right? And then third year, we're in 100K, right? Now, here's what I mean about the pull. I wanted it so bad. Do you know what I mean? I wanted it so bad,
right?
Because I knew what I wanted, and it pulled me. It was like no matter what obstacle came by, we'll figure it out. Right. Okay, we're not making money. I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
all right, let's sell that. Let's do this. Let's not that. Let's use the equity in the house. I don't care. I'm just telling you, I want to be there. My wife's like, I think she saw that I was committed to the cause.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. I was committed to that cause. It was pulling me. I mean, literally, it was pulling me. I've never had anything pull me into the future like that. It was the first time I was ever pulled, and that's where I'm at. And so I cannot describe to you from May 9th to today, right? So it's like 25 years, 24 years, 23. The things that have happened to me, I'm just telling you, man, you couldn't script it out.
Right.
I tell people this, and people think I have a death wish, and I don't. I just want to say I don't have a death wish. But if I were to die today, I would say, good game, Victor.
Wow.
It was a good game. And the crowning moment was, I finally have a granddaughter, first grandchild.
amazing.
And I'm just like, that was the thing I wanted. And so I don't want to die. Let's say, I'm not ready yet. But
Not ready.
But it's like, I have everything to be grateful for.
Amazing.
Because I lived this game that's just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Tell me, what was the biggest inner battle that you had to go through or conquer to go from a poor boy to a successful person?
I think, a lot of people like to talk about, imposter syndrome or something like that.
Okay.
I have something similar. I don't know what you would call it. Not good enough syndrome.
Okay.
They're not good. Because I moved it. This is going to sound so weird, Matt, but I'll just give it to you straight because it's the real deal. So in where I was raised, it was pretty much a Black and Hispanic neighborhood, right? We lived in this, I called it this bubble of poverty, right? And we always assumed, this is the part where people are going to go, what? So here it comes. I was like, because I was in this bubble, just remember, I'm like 16, 17, 18 years old here at the time. I assumed that white people had it all together. Like they had it easy.
Of course.
Right? Because that's what you were told.
Right.
The media told you this. People in your neighborhood told you this.
Right.
These leaders told you this. And so I remember I go to college. It's almost embarrassing what I'm about to tell you. I go to college, right? And all of a sudden, it's like, the United Nations, everybody's there. People from Armenia.
Right.
From all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think I was a few Hispanics. When I say Hispanics, I mean all of Latin American Hispanics. Very different. People keep clumping us together. We're very different.
Yeah.
And I remember that my first friend in college was this guy named Mike. Mike was white. And I remember talking to Mike, and Mike was talking about how poor he was. And I was like, this literally came out of my mouth in so many words. He goes, Mike, how can you be poor? You're white. And I said that to him just like that, right?
Yeah,
and he goes, he says something like, are you an idiot? I go, what? He goes, you realize there are poor white people.
Yeah.
And I go, it's like, it was a moment.
Yeah.
Because I go like, well, I guess I never really thought about that.
Right.
And that's when I had the biggest culture shock. Like, I don't know. What else have I been lied to? Because most people don't understand that the poorest majority in the U.S., not percentage, quantity, are whites. The majority of people who use public assistance welfare, quantity, not percentage, are whites.
Wow.
But what happens is that the way they show you the numbers, they take percentage Hispanic, Black, and all these minority, and they group it into minority, and it's bigger.
Of course.
And so I go, well, what else have they not told me? But that to me was, as stupid as that example may sound, it made me begin to, it formed the basis for critical thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From that point on, when somebody said something, it's almost like my brain said, is that true? To what extent is that true?
Yeah.
That second part is important. Is it true? Yes. Well, to what extent is it true?
What is the magnitude of that?
Yeah, I want to understand that. And so that's when to me, that was like a pivotal moment. That stupid example of like what Mike just told me, are you an idiot? Yeah. And so now when somebody says something, I try not to take sides. I don't want to play red team, blue team. I go, well, tell me.
And that's what you do. You do your research so well, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you talk about, information beyond obvious, right? So to me, that moment where you realize, okay, what else have I been lied to?
Yeah.
It creates curiosity.
That's exactly
right.
it.
And when you're curious, you're like a child that wants to know everything, and you start to go down the rabbit hole to find more things that you didn't know about that makes you grow and change that fixed mindset to growth mindset.
Yeah, it's interesting because you brought something out. You asked me about the question about like, what changed me. So I had that imposter syndrome, right? Because I thought they had it together. They being like white people had it together, and I realized, okay, we're all the same here, right?
Yeah.
And I learned that was the time in my head I go, we transcend race. Like in my brain. Well, if you look at my DNA, I did the 23andMe. I got everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I got everything. Yeah. And so, but the one thing I did to mitigate the I'm not good enough, because it was true. I didn't know enough. Like I didn't play golf, right? And I thought, well, people don't invite me to go golfing. And I think, and then I go, and then my brain would say, is that like a race thing? Because you're Hispanic, Puerto Rican? And my brain says, no, I think it's because you just don't know how to play golf.
Right.
So I took lessons. Like for 3-4 months, I took lessons to play golf. And then I let people know I play golf. And guess what happened?
People started minding you.
People started inviting me to golf.
Yeah.
But again, that is known as a fundamental attribution error. That I could have assumed that they just didn't like me.
Right.
And that would be me attributing something to that wasn't true. Right. And we do this a lot. We attribute something, and you go, but what the reality is, as soon as I started learning how to play golf, it had nothing to do with who I was.
Yeah.
It's just that you didn't play. So why invite you?
Wow.
And so that shifted me. And then this strategy worked for me. This was pre-internet, obviously, is when I used to go into somebody's office, they always had books, like an executive or something, like a manager. They always had books.
Yes.
So I would always figure, if it's on the table, I know that's the current book, obviously. So I said, you know what? Read what they read.
I love that.
That's anybody.
Yeah.
So I would go I remember when I saw Good to Great, I go, and I remember I asked my boss, was that book? He said, Good to Great, this and that. I go, all right, I'm going to read it. And so I became like a ravenous reader. Wow. It's funny because in high school and college, I wasn't. There was a drive in me to say, I need to know what they know. And by they, I mean everybody.
Wow.
In business.
Yeah.
I need to know what you know. So if you said to me, I'm the guy, you go, hey, I read this book. Oh my God, Victor, this is an awesome book. I'm like, what is it? I got to go read it, right? Because you're telling me with that excitement, like some people just say, this is a good book. I won't buy it.
Right.
You're just
right
there. And now I got to figure out why. So the more I started reading, there came a moment, and this took years. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like days or months, years. There came a moment when I realized that I'm at their level. I'm at that level where I can have these conversations. And I remember I had a moment, this was one special moment. I read almost I cleaned house on every book on selling and sales systems, right? And I remember I got on a flight, sitting up front, first class, and this guy, we started talking about, he goes, what do you do? I do this. He goes, and then he starts telling me about these sales systems. I go, no, I think you got those confused, I said. I said, that's really this system right here. And he goes, no. He says, I'm pretty sure I'm right. I said, well, let me walk you through it, and maybe I can describe the two systems for you, maybe to make sure that we're on the same page.
Right.
And I started going through the whole list, and by the end he goes, you're right. But I noticed something. His attitude towards me shifted. Like he knows. Like, okay, I want to know this guy now.
Right.
Having knowledge.
Certainty.
Right. Having knowledge and that certainty of knowledge makes people look at you differently.
Yes.
They engage with you differently.
Right.
And so it's like, if nothing goes in, nothing goes out. A lot of people don't read.
Right.
To me, that's like moving around furniture in your house, right? Because if you're not adding things and taking away things, because that's what books do, right?
Right.
You add a new concept. Oh, I was wrong about this, or I didn't have this 100%. Let me replace it with this new concept.
Yes.
The furniture's looking better now.
Yeah.
It makes more sense. A lot of people don't read, which means they're just moving furniture around, which means that they're always going to hit a limit on the conversations they can have.
Right.
And so to me, it's always fascinating that people don't read, because I'm like, why? Because that means you're only going to work with the content you have.
Right.
There's no new ingredients.
Right.
And by the way, I got to answer this question. People always ask me this question. Would you still get a college degree? An engineering degree? I want to answer this because this will be controversial.
Yes.
The answer is yes. Let me tell you why. Now, let me qualify this by saying, you don't get a degree that makes no sense. Like if you get a degree in the history of the Polynesian War, a few limited jobs, right? ChatGPT can do that now.
Right.
But what engineering school gave me, what an engineering degree gave me, was these different aspects of engineering. Like I understand materials now. So I can look at them like a microphone bar and material. I can understand, how this is like anodized and stuff like that. And that's like years ago, right? I understand how a microphone works because I understand amplifiers and preamps. So you can't really confuse me about that, right? I can look at the wires, say that's how conductance works. I can actually talk about the wires inside and actually give you some capacitance laws that lay on top of that, right? Or I can look at a mathematical equation. I say, okay, that's a simple derivative. That's a triple Laplace transform. I get that you're trying to do multiply matrices. So all this stuff that it's in there. But when somebody explains something to me, it's almost like I can relate to something I learned in college.
Wow.
Because of all the knowledge I got there. And so I can't speak to a lot of degrees, but if somebody says, I want to get an engineering degree, I'm like, and I didn't have, as I said, I have ADHD, which means I'm just hyper, man.
Yeah.
I'm not hyper. I could not form my own schedule. I need structure.
Yeah.
College provided that structure for me to learn.
Discipline.
Right. Because I didn't have it. I was too young to have it at 18, right? Like I said, I almost walked out after half a year. And so once I got that structure, that helped me. And so when somebody's thinking about going to college, I think the first qualifying question is, what's the degree going to be in? And how do you intend to use this thing?
That makes sense.
Right? And then start from there. And so I hear too many speakers, you don't need a college degree. Listen to what Elon Musk said. Well, I did listen to Elon Musk. I actually read what he said. And he said, yeah, you don't need a college degree. He said it. But he also said, unless you have extraordinary skills.
Right.
And no, everybody skipped over that part.
Right.
The extraordinary skills.
Yeah.
He said, if you have extraordinary skills, you don't need a college degree. To which I go, that's obvious.
Right.
If I'm just like sentient, you know what I mean? I'm just that being that can just, levitate
Just
above
get it.
everybody.
Yeah.
Then you don't need it. But the majority of us, we're not Elon Musk.
Right.
So we need some type of structure, some type of formal education.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I want to get into some sales questions with you because this is very important for our audience because everybody sees you as an expert, right, in this industry. So what is the significance of the first 30-second rule you teach, and how can salespeople make the most of those critical initial moments when they start the phone conversation?
The first 30, in any engagement is always like that first impression that you get, right? It's not even 30 seconds. I think more like 15 seconds sometimes. I think it's really short. How people just judge right away. So here's what's interesting, because studies have shown this, that we will judge things very quickly.
Right.
Like, what's that rule by, Albert Mehrabian. I think it's something like that.
It must be Armenian.
Yeah, it's something you see from somewhere, because he said Mehrabian. The in there. And when he said it's 55% of whether I like you or not is visual. 55% of whether I like you or not is visual. 38% of whether I like you or not is how you speak.
Wow.
Tone.
Yeah.
And only 7% is content. So let's break it down. First one's visual. 55% of whether I like you or not is visual. By visual, I don't not only clothes, it could be your body language, your expressions, your micro expressions, your hand gestures. So that's 55% visual, first V. Second V is vocal, how you say things. So you're cold calling, this is big.
Right.
Because the visual's not there.
Right.
It's the vocal. And so to dominate a conversation vocally, you have to have that authority in your voice.
100%.
So when you pick up a call, there should be no hesitation.
Right.
No matter what you say to me, it's not going to surprise me because I know. I know what the answer is.
Yes.
I know how to overcome the objection. I don't have a problem with that. And then only 7%, the third V, was verbiage, the actual content. What does that mean for you if you're cold calling? They can't see the visual, right? By the way, so if you got all three aspects, I can see you, I can hear you, watch you, and then listen to what you're saying and the actual content. We call that broadcasting. So this right here is broadcasting.
Yes.
Because I'm all three channels, right? But when on a phone, we call that narrowcasting. Because all they can see, in this case, figuratively, is hear your voice and listen to the words you're using.
Right.
That's all you got.
Right.
So you only have two channels to play with. It makes it harder, right? And by the way, the problem we have as callers is that we start imagining this person doesn't want rolling his eyes when they're maybe not rolling their eyes, right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to somebody, the first 30 seconds has to be authoritative in the sense that you got to come across with so much confidence that you just know. And I always tell people, never be in the conversation, be on the conversation. In the conversation means you're thinking about what you have to say. On the conversation means you know your content so well, it's this conversation. Imagine me having this conversation with you. You asked me this question about the first 30 seconds. I said, well, okay, so, the first 30 seconds, it's important.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that you got to make a great impression. You see the difference in delivery?
Big difference.
This is what the first 30 seconds is, even face-to-face, is that it's just be confident. And a lot of people, again, because of their past, the way their mind is set based on their past, lack confidence. And I think the only way to raise confidence is to give them great content to teach them what they need to know. Once you know what you have to say, how to say it, you don't
competence builds confidence, and confidence supports competence.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I like that riff. That was a good riff, actually. I like that.
Thank you. Now, here's the thing. You said this many times. You have to understand buyer's journey, right? What does that mean? How do we, as salespeople, put ourselves in the shoes of the buyer? And how do we predict what they're thinking?
So somebody calls in. So let's take two examples, right? Outbound's always hard to judge how much they know, how much they don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So do you do mostly inbound or outbound? Can I ask
Outbound.
that? Outbound. So you're outbound. Inbound is easy because when somebody calls me and says, I found you on the internet,
Yes.
I mean, they've done the research, to which I would ask just two questions.
Right.
One, how did you find us? They're going to tell you how you found us. I go, how much research have you done? This is a great question.
Yeah.
How much research have you done? Well, I've done some research. Follow-up question. What did you find?
Right.
Now they tell you what they want, what they know, and now you're not repeating things to them.
Of course.
Right? Now, let's say we're doing outbound. This is where client persona and all the good stuff comes in, because I don't even know if that buyer's been on the journey. Think about it. We're calling somebody. We don't even know if they're on the journey. There could still be at home, laying in bed,
Right.
Figuratively speaking. So when we're calling somebody, if I'm selling, like, what's your main product?
Internet.
Internet, just what?
Fiber optics.
Fiber optics. Oh, I love fiber optics. Did I tell you I designed fiber optic networks?
No.
Yeah. I used to also be the product manager of a software that actually monitored the actual fiber optic networks. We put what they called OTDRs, these lasers that shoot into the network to make sure the fibers didn't break. And if they did break, we could actually locate the break on a mapping system. So I actually designed that. Anyway, side note. So I'm selling fiber optics, right?
Yeah.
Customers, let's talk about what the customer's thinking right now. You call me, and I'm going to make these numbers up, okay?
Sure.
Okay. I call you, and let's say, first thing I need to find out is if you actually have, do you have basic wireless, or do you actually have fiber optic? In other words, are you using Ethernet or some type of way?
Yeah.
Or do you want to
You
go
have cable. What do you have?
Cable, right.
Yeah.
You use Infinity, or you actually, do you got a 2.5 pipe, right?
Yeah.
2.5 gig pipe, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to say, Victor, I have, let's say, your basic cable internet, right? Basic ISP service.
I shared the connection with everybody else.
And so now, what am I thinking? You're calling me. I'm not thinking about switching over. So you got to give me the reason to want to switch over.
Right.
And if you say faster, and I'm going, well, maybe I don't want faster.
Right.
Because I'm happy with my current speed. That makes it a tough conversation, right?
Is there a gain?
Is there a gain? The first, God, you really studied my stuff. Is there a gain? What is the magnitude of the gain? And then what's the perceived effort?
Exactly.
Right? How much effort is it going to take to switch over?
Yes.
It's the same thing. So when I'm calling somebody, I'm trying to create a sense of urgency because I don't know where they're at. So the first thing I have to do is figure out, what are you currently using? But I got to be able to open with that conversation. So, like, what do you train your salespeople on? Help me out. What's your opening line to them when they call? Let's see if we can let's workshop this right here.
Yeah, I love that. So the way we teach our people is to be able to not go out there and promote the product only, right? Because a lot of people say, hey, we just extended the fiber optic connection into your neighborhood.
Right.
I wanted to know if you were interested in that. To me, that's what everybody else does.
Right.
The idea is to identify pain, desire, or need.
Right.
So therefore, hey, John, the reason why I'm giving you a call is because I was able to help many other businesses in your area with their internet connection. I hear that many people in this area have Comcast and they have this problem.
Because you know already.
Because we already know that, right? The problem is that they pay 100% of their bill to receive 70% of the service.
Right.
Is that what's happening to you?
Right. And by the way, you make it more tangible, right?
Right.
Because as soon as I said, can I ask you a question? I said, have you experienced latency, delays? That's the word I would use, latency in your internet. Like sometimes it just doesn't fire up. Like maybe you go into the conference room, it does da-da-da, and they're going to go, yeah, once in a while. It does that. But let's say they know. And this is the problem, because if they have no urgency, they're in a complacent stage.
Right.
In other words, I would try to figure, if I was in your business, I would try to figure out what would be like a way to create urgency when they're complacent. That would be
when they have no urgency.
That's correct. Because they're complacent. They're like, I'm good.
What about this question?
Let's go.
Victor, you've been with Comcast now for how many years?
3 years.
And within those 3 years, what did you notice that they need to improve upon?
My honest answer would be, I can't think of anything right now. That'd be my honest answer.
Okay. And when people tell me they can't think of anything right now,
right?
Is there something that you wish you had that you don't have right now?
Can't think of something. I'm being honest here. I can't. Because I had Comcast and I switched over to the AT&T fiber optic.
Yeah. Now, how would you like to know that you're no longer sharing your services and your connection with anyone else in the neighborhood?
Oh, I didn't know I was sharing.
Yeah, you were. So the way it works.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the insight. I didn't know I was sharing. So now you found a way in, the Trojan horse.
Gotcha.
Right? So I would go, I said, so somebody goes, hey, by the way, one of the things you're working on right now is that this is a shared network. Are you familiar with shared networks? No. What does that mean? Well, imagine, 10 people on a call, and as they add more houses, I notice in your area they're building more, which means that network is going to be shared over time, most likely. The same nodes are going to be used by other people. So instead of, so you'll notice a slight degrading.
Right.
But here's the problem. You won't notice slight degrading in your pricing, right? And if you're a business, if this is a business and you can't afford latency, then you want to switch over to fiber optic. Here's why. And so I would try to figure out that. Now, if I'm working, let's say, with a business park, I'm going, look, you're adding more tools. Like every laptop. Why do you upgrade a laptop? I try to find. I'm brainstorming with you.
Yes.
When laptop, you have to upgrade your laptop. Why do you upgrade your laptop? Because the applications are more powerful or more memory consuming, require higher CPU, right? In other words, it's got to run faster, right? He says what's happening is that all your people in this building are probably upgrading computer once in a while or putting a new app. And as they put new apps, they consume more memory, processing power, but to be able to use them on the internet, it's also going to consume more, which means your bandwidth is going to be squeezed. Right now, you may not be having a problem, but there's peak times where you may have a problem as more people get on it and the note is shared. I said, here's what a fiber optic network would allow you to do and guarantee you so you don't get the latency, especially on the audio side.
Love that.
Then if I know that you're closing deals, because I would ask you, what type of business are you in? Well, we sell services. I said, average customer deal is what? I don't know. If we close a customer, it's about $5,000 a month. So we're talking $5,000, $60,000 a year per each customer. What if you just lost one because the internet connection went down or you didn't have the speed you wanted, the response rate, You know, I use digital boards, That also
pain, desire, need right there.
I guess that's when I work with companies, I do that to them. I said, let's find a way to kind of make them go, insight. I didn't think about that. I never thought about. I had to upgrade. And it's a shared network. I didn't know about the shared network too. You're right. The more we add, the more tools we use, the more it's kind of a hog. It's going to consume a lot of bandwidth.
And right away, the client knows that you're not just another salesperson because you're not giving them the whole old spiel of the same thing. Do you want to buy? Oh no, next. Do you want to buy?
Next.
Right. We stay away from that as well.
Right.
Now, do you remember when you walked into your president's office when you became in charge of Latin America and you said, hey, what I need is for you to lower the price?
Right.
Can you share that story?
That's a true story. So I became the youngest VP of. I was a software manager guy. I didn't tell the story. I became director of sales, and a friend of mine convinced me to become a product manager. He says, Victor, if you really want to understand the business, you got to go into product management. He says, just do it for a year or two. So I went into product management, software development for remote fiber optic systems, remote fiber testing system, RFTS is what it was called. And so, because you learn how to manage your own P&L.
Yes.
And then I got all kinds of software engineers. I learned how to work with software engineers. That was interesting. And so, anyway, a VP slot, I was going to quit. True story. I was going to quit. And I respected my boss so much. I worked for another VP of a division. And I said, look, I don't mind being a product manager for you. I came here to do this for a couple of years. My couple of years is almost up.
Right.
I said, I'm going back into sales. I want to do Latin American sales. I said, I'll probably be leaving the company at the end of the year. And he was like, oh, shit. If I can be so blunt, right? He's like, oh, crap. His name was Rick Maslowski. He's like, oh, shit, okay. And it's almost like, again, things just move in your way. Sometimes the invisible hand just moves your way. About 2-3 months later, the VP of Latin America quits. And so now the president of the division, Lynn Davis, says, that's my guy.
Yeah.
I want him. Now there's 7 divisions, but he's got the highest revenue bucket. And he says, I want Victor. And everybody else had to fall in line type of thing, right? And so I had to move to Latin America. I moved to Buenos Aires. I got 3 choices, and I picked Buenos Aires. Mexico, Venezuela were the other 2 choices. And so I'm down there 3 months, and he's almost like looking out for me, like kind of like, I put you in that position, don't fail me type of thing.
Right.
So you feel this responsibility not to
How old are you at that time?
So that was 1980, I'm going to say 34.
34. Okay.
34.
Youngest VP.
Yeah, in there. And so so I'm down there 3 months. He calls me up back to Minnesota, right? Because he wants to do that face-to-face conversation thing. And so I fly back, and I remember Beth, the secretary, says, he'll be with you in a minute. I wait outside. She walks me in. Beautiful, I always describe it, beautiful mahogany desk.
Yeah.
You know, expensive art because it was ugly. Big bay windows, very intimidating.
Yeah.
And he's, exchanged pleasantries. And then he asked me that key qualifying question, as good leaders would. He goes, Victor, what can I do to help you grow the business? What can I do to help you grow the business, right?
All the pressure's on you.
And I said, without thinking, I said, Lynn, if we had better pricing, I know I can, because at that time it was $14.1 million I had to cross over. That was the most they've ever sold.
Right.
I know I can beat that $14.1 million. I said something to that effect. And then he just stared at me like this.
Yeah.
And he just stared for a while. And you're like, your brain's going, oh. all right, something's wrong.
You can hear everything.
Oh my God. And he goes, this is when he said, Victor, let me ask you a question. And I always tell people when someone says, let me ask you a question, it's not going to go your way.
Yeah.
So Victor, let me ask you a question. And I said, yes. He goes, if the only way to grow the revenue beyond 14 million is to, lower our price, why don't I do this? Why don't I fire you, fire your sales team, get rid of your support, close the offices, and just send the customer a brochure with a small price discount? I think that would be cheaper for me. What do you think of that idea? To which I said, I don't know who brought this topic up, but let's move on. Now, keep in mind, our prices were on average 30% higher than our competitors. 30% higher.
Yep.
So that told me, he basically said, we don't sell on price, is what he was telling me. We sell on value.
I love that.
Position the value, not the price. Position the value, not the price. I went back to Latin America with that message. And I had people who said, if I had better price, I remember one guy, Eduardo, out of Venezuela, says, Victor, if I had better price, I know I can sell more. I go, Eduardo, if the only way to grow the region, I will fire you. So I fired a third of my sales force because they didn't understand the sell on value proposition, the mindset. And we grew that business from $14 to $98 million in annual revenue in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And everybody made a lot of money. And so I tell this story, but I want to add something. When you buy a car, you start seeing that car, right, on the road.
Yes.
Yeah. You buy the Volvo, you start seeing the Volvo.
Right.
That's my car, right? What happens is if you tell your brain it's about price, then you start seeing everything's about price.
Yes.
But as soon as you tell your brain we sell on value, you begin looking for value.
I agree.
It's almost like your brain says, okay, we need to find a way to sell value. Then so we talk about this whole exchange about calling a business park to sell them fiber optic network, connection rather. If you say, no, I'm selling on value, then all of a sudden your brain says, well, how do we sell on value? What story do we tell? What story can we use to sell on value? You're not focused on price. We need to figure out a value story here. Then you go to, I go to you. Hey, tell me a value story. Hey, how about you? How do you sell it? And all of a sudden you start looking for value stories or value positioning. And next thing you know, you're selling a value story.
Yeah. Price is relevant when value is present.
That's it. And that's it. So position your value, not your price. And so, but it requires this focus on finding the value. Like, how do we tell that story? You know what I mean? Just like you gave me the example and I go, how do I tell that story?
Right.
I'm talking to the executive. Okay, I tried this, that doesn't work. I tried this story, that doesn't work. Notice what I'm trying. There's always a way.
Right.
Just got to figure it out.
You just got to figure it out.
Just got to figure it out. And so, but too many people focus on price, or if there's a recession, there's another one. Oh, there's a recession. Well, yeah, of course there's a recession. I got that.
Right.
That's not what we focus on. We focus on how to sell in a recession.
Do you believe people bring their own beliefs into the sales call and because they buy things based on price, they sell things on price?
They do.
And how do they fix that if they live in a position where they're not making a lot of money, they just started their career, and everything is priced for them, and they are counting pennies. But then when they get on the call, they have to sell the value. How do they shift that mindset?
Because they're buying with their pocket. We call that buying with your pocket. Never do that. Okay, so here I'm gonna put you in an awkward position. See if you got this. So. Who's your typical client? Who do you sell to?
Small, medium business.
Okay, so let's say it's a small business, right?
Yeah.
Let's say, or a medium business, right? How many employees they have? 50?
Anywhere between 20 to 100.
Okay, let's just say 50. It's nice in the middle, right?
Perfect.
Okay, so it's a company, 50. Now, you sell what?
Internet, cell phones, voice over IP, everything.
Okay, so what's the value of that?
Connectivity, communication.
Watch, I'm gonna push you here.
Yeah,
so what?
So
what does that do? What does that do for me?
Well, let me ask you, Victor. If you need to communicate with your clients, how are you going to do so without internet?
Okay, I can use my phone.
Right.
I'm pushing you hard here.
Right. And your phone is connected to what?
To
the internet.
Not really. I guess go cellular network, but I mean,
you also have a cell phone.
Yeah, I have a cell phone. Yeah, that's correct.
Who's your cell phone provider?
AT&T. Okay,
AT&T.
Or Verizon for me, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's exactly why I'm giving you a call.
Right.
Because we want to make sure that we bundle all the services together where you have the best experience possible.
Right.
Here's why. Because we have the highest reliability network in the industry where you can come into work without questioning, will my phone or will my internet work?
Right.
How does that sound for you?
Right. So that's the pitch, right?
Right. That's the
now,
piece of mind.
By the way, not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
I would go next level on this one. I said, look, right now you have 50 people on the plan. I said, none of these can afford to miss a call.
Right.
Because if they miss a call or they don't get back to the customer in time, because we know there's different, again, this is us creating a value story.
Yes.
He says, there's only 4 ways to grow your business. You know, if you follow me, you know what they are, right?
Yeah.
Gain new clients, retain existing ones, re-engage old ones, upsell the existing ones.
That's right.
So now, I'm talking to a client that says, look, you need to make sure that you're always in constant contact. In other words, you need to respond very quickly. That's why we get high-speed internet, because there is no latency, And if you have to send bigger files, we can do that.
Right.
So sometimes you want to send a video, we can do that as well. That gives you an edge over your competitors. I'm making stuff up,
Sure.
right? I said, so anything that has to do with the value of the actual service,
Yeah.
like when you said reliability, I was saying, but take the next level. Reliability, what's that mean? Your people are traveling.
Yes.
And there's certain pockets here in the Atlanta area, because I know where you're not going to get any cell phone reception. It's going to be really bad. We have this coverage. I want to show you the map. Here's why it's different.
Right.
So now when they're traveling, do you have salespeople in this area? Yeah, I do. All right. So what's his name? Bill, Bob, God. Ask Bill and Bob if there's calls have dropped and because that's what they'll tell you. He says and what is one call worth to you, one client worth to you? Right. You just told me the average deal size is $3,000, $10,000, $5,000. That's what's worth to you. So when I'm off, you get the idea. The more we can develop that type of tangible story where we tie, if I say system reliability, it means nothing to me.
Right.
But as soon as you say, here's what it means.
Right.
They're in certain areas here in Georgia.
Break it down.
Yeah. You go back into LJ, Georgia, into the Blue Mountains here, all of a sudden you're not going to get connection. But we have the connection there. Do you business there? Then that. What is one lost customer? $5,000. For another extra $200-300 a month.
Right.
You have that security.
Right.
That's what we're selling you, because we want to help your business grow.
How do you teach that to your salespeople? How do you make sure that people actually go into and focus on value? Because a lot of times, again, price, and they just think that that's the most important thing in terms of selling. I believe value is important. I believe the value actually moves the sale forward, and it keeps the clients engaged.
Totally.
So how do you do that to your salespeople?
I go back to the car example. That if you buy a Volvo, you see the Volvo. Right. A lot of people, because they buy on price, they only see price.
Right.
Now, if I sell you something on price, that's great. It's a transaction. But if I sell you something on value, it's different. Here's what I mean. I don't view myself as selling internet service, or let's just say telecom services. I'm helping your business grow.
Yes.
What a difference in attitude.
Okay.
I'm almost like a partner with you. Dude, I'm helping your business grow. I go, well, what do you mean help our business grow? He says, you can't afford to lose business. You can't afford to be delayed on the company. You can't afford to have your internet go down. You can't afford this. I care more about your business than you do, damn it. That type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so when I talk to like companies who bring me in for sales training, I'm like in them. Like for example, a training company calls me, says, Victor, we're thinking of bringing in a trainer. All right, great. I'm not even worried about closing the deal. Tell me your numbers. Like, what are your metrics? What's your close rate? What's your sales cycle? What's your average deal size, right?
Yeah.
You know, what's your conversion rate?
Right.
So it's where you having problems. I go like a mechanic. Notice I'm not worried about closing the sales. I'm trying to figure out why your numbers are off.
Gotcha.
And all of a sudden they're like, damn it, this guy seems to care more about my business. I said, are you doing this? Do you have this? What about this? Tell me about your sales process. Walk me through that process. What are you using to track the clients? What's your CRM? What's your platforms? And they're like, now imagine if we take that same attitude, we're going into a company, medium-sized business. I don't care what your business is. You got to find a way to stay communicated, connected with your clients to make sure that you do business and you do it quickly. I know for a fact, because I read, is that one of the things is a lot of customers don't like to be put on hold, right? Two, they don't like to be transferred, right? They like to have the information up front. If they go to the website, which is what majority of people get their information from, guess what they need? A great connection. So I'll try to find a way to say, let us have your website. Where's your servers at? So if they have local servers, I'll figure out, okay, you got local servers here. Again, engineering degree helps on this one. You got a local server here. I said, by the way, we're going to tie that directly into data. So that means midday when everybody's flooding your website, that thing is connected and it's pulling information down. There's no latency, no delay. Because we know that if they spend 2 seconds for downloads, they'll move on. If I can sell it that way. So I look for that angle as well.
Right. Okay.
So do they have local servers? Okay. Do you have your servers? If I know they have their servers locally, or they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like, where are you hosting your sites? And then you start thinking like this.
Right.
Notice I care more about your business because I'm thinking latency on the website, not good. Responding, I need to send video files, big files. I'm thinking about your business as a whole. And I think a lot of people churn and burn. By churn and burn, they just make a lot of calls.
Yeah.
And you sell on price. As you already pointed out.
Yes.
This is what it costs. You got that? We got a better price?
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, next. That's one way of building a business.
Right.
But if you want to build a long-term business where you have bigger deals, because that's what I would want.
Yes.
I want less customers, bigger deals.
Of course.
So I try to figure out, the first thing I would try to figure out is if I'm selling to small, medium-sized businesses, what's that profile look like?
Yes.
Okay, and then I look for the vertical.
Okay.
Like, so for example, give me a vertical that you serve. Let's do this. Let's say it's healthcare.
Okay.
Let's say it's healthcare.
Okay.
You're looking for, like, I don't know, I'm just guessing,
Yeah.
healthcare. Unless you give me a better vertical. By healthcare. Construction, right? So you're talking to construction, you got 50 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand now. What I would do is I would sit a person on a construction site to understand everything they do about construction. Just
Okay.
understand everything. Just like, okay, what do they do? Why would they need a better internet? Why do they need a better service?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are, by the way, we can flood them with two things. We can give them not only the cellular phone, but we can also have them do two-way, right? Walkie-talkie, push to talk, right?
Push to talk. Yeah, back in the day.
I designed wireless systems too.
I love
like
it.
I said, yeah. I started selling SD walkie-talkies into the public safety market. That was one of my first jobs.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I can now talk their lingo. But what if I just focused on a vertical and I dominate the vertical in terms of knowledge?
Right.
Like, I know everything about construction.
Yeah.
I know what you guys do. Where do you keep this? How do you do this? I go in there now with a totally different attitude. You can't surprise me.
Specialization.
Yes.
Not
It's
generalization.
hyper specialization. And so all of a sudden, I understand your industry.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were to sit one person on one industry. Just try this as a pilot program. Take one person, a salesperson, says, Duke, I need you to figure out everything about this industry.
Wow.
And every motivation construction people would have to buy our system. And we need a story.
Yes.
We need a damn good story. Wow. Right? And all of a sudden, you start gathering the information. And then 3 months later, he goes like, I think I got it. Show it to me. No, go deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, I need you to understand everything about that thing. And then all of a sudden, that person's going to be able to come back and say, all right, I got it. This is how we pitch these guys.
That's
this is
awesome.
what closes them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't do that. We don't take the time to understand your business, and we just make it transactional.
Right.
Now, as soon as I say, no, I'm going to bundle that and that. Here's why I'm going to bundle it. Because if you buy that separately, you'll save a few pennies. I get that. If you want to do that, fine. But here's why. We have this network interface thing here. We can monitor the data coming here. We can tell you when something goes, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
All that stuff, right?
Wow.
So, on the VPNs, here's why you want a VPN. You're doing a lot of transactions that are financial. You're sharing a lot of information. This company just got sued because they didn't have da-da. You want to put in a VPN.
Yes.
Here's why. So now we have a VPN story. See what I mean?
Gotcha.
And then you
Gotcha.
start, that's how I would start building it.
So, Victor, what do you say to people that say sales is a contact sport? And how do you translate that, not to confuse people, that yes, you do need to reach out to a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's not only the quantity, but
Yeah.
it's also quality of
Well, it's almost
conversation.
like speed dating, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like, yeah, it's a contact sport. Yeah, you got to contact them. Yeah, congratulations, right?
Yeah.
When people say that to me, like, yeah, of course you got to contact them. They contact you. Got it. But to me, that's like an old cliche from like the 70s or the 80s, and I'm like, yeah, it's a contact sport. Imagine you walk up, you're a guy and you're dating. You're a female, listen to this, just okay, you're female and you're dating a guy. And then all of a sudden, let's say if I'm a guy, I want to date women, I go up to the first girl, I go, want to go out to dinner? I made contact. No context, but I made contact. So in other words, there's got to be context for us to play with. Like, why would I do it? Why would I want to engage with you? The whole thing about just calling people, dialing for dollars or sending out a flood of, automated DMs, to all these, it's not working.
It's not.
Look, the studies have shown this, the insanity of what's going on in the market right now, and I've said this, but nobody listens, right? Is that they keep investing all this money in sales enablement tools. Yeah, to make salespeople more effective. Sales enablement, sales engagement platforms, take your pick, whatever flavor you want, right? And so they got more tools. So, let's say 10 years ago, they had 3 tools in the stack. Now they got 7 to 10 tools in the stack, right? But yet, they're still only spending a third of their time connecting with clients. The other 2/3 spend managing tools.
Right.
I'm saying is that too often we hide behind the tools and we don't do the hard work. So we want it all. But what if, like for us, what we did was, and remember that if you remember the presentation I did outbound, I put everything in a matrix.
Yeah.
And I said, we go after this industry, and I believe there's 5 million there.
Yeah.
I'm going to assign 2 salespeople to get that 5 million. I'm going to go this industry, I'll look at that vertical with that product line. I know I can get that. And all of a sudden you become like a sniper.
Exactly.
And that's what you want. And I think when you become sniper-like, you can have more content and sell more. Like it's amazing. I don't think people realize how much money they can make.
Right.
If they just figured out who they want to go after and then how to sell them the package, then people will pay you more money.
Now that we have identified, right, how to be able to go ahead and approach the sales and the mindset of things, I want to ask you, when it comes down to your bottom performers, right, the people that are not doing so well, how do you approach them? How do you work with them? And what do you focus on? And how much time do you give them to be able to say, okay, is this a right candidate to work with or not to work with them?
Yeah. Sometimes we're quick to hire and slow to fire.
Yeah.
We've all heard that phrase, right? And so years ago, and I'll answer the question this way, is that sometimes you have to make the hard decision. Let me give you the global statement. The global statement is, if I'm more worried about you than you are about yourself, you're my salesperson, then I need to fire you. If I have to go home thinking about you, I need to fire you.
Okay.
Here's why. Because salespeople need to know that they're like a walking business unit. Every salesperson is a walking P&L. Let me explain that. They're like little business owners.
Yes.
Every salesperson is a business owner. There's costs associated with their salary, everything they do. I don't know what the expenses are, and then how much they sell.
Yes.
The difference is the profit the company makes. They're little business owners, right? They just don't see it that way sometimes. So they have to understand that that's a weight, right? That's a responsibility. And so when I look at salespeople, I always ask myself, is it good clay or bad clay? Good clay you can mold.
Yes.
Bad clay you can't mold.
Too stiff.
So too stiff. It's already set. It doesn't want to change. Now, let me add a caveat. If you don't want to change and you want to sell your way, I'm good. But you got to hit your number.
Okay.
And I had a guy who just refused to do what I told him to do as far as positioning value, but he closed deals. And I've asked people always ask me, said, well, what did you do? To which I said, what would you do? What would you do if you had a guy that just is not selling the way you want him to sell? He's not doing the things you need him to do. And then he won't even put the information in the CRM. And they're like, well, did you fire him? I go, no, I didn't fire him. I said, I'm not stupid. I said, here's what I did. He says, this guy kept selling like a demon. He was just good. He sold his way. Why would I want to change that?
Okay.
But my issue was I need the data in the CRM.
Right.
I'm not stupid. What do you think I did? I hired an assistant for him to do it.
Okay.
So there's ways to kind of, you know what I mean? There's ways to
As
work
long
with
as
it.
it's ethical.
Yeah. No. There was nothing unethical.
Right.
No, he believed that he didn't have to follow a certain sales process.
Because he was too good.
Yeah, he was too good. And he did it the way he wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a second part to the story. So first of all, we did that, got him the assistant, and he was good. What started happening was this guy was always in the top 3. Within about a year and a half, 2 years, he fell to like in the top 10.
Okay.
And then now, he didn't come to me. He started asking the other salespeople who did listen what they were doing differently.
Interesting.
And then he slowly changed to that system.
Wow.
And he one day confessed to me, he goes, I've never made this much money in sales
Right.
until you came along.
Wow.
And so that was like, but that's like a 2 year for him to say something like that to me.
Some people are good,
Yeah.
but they can be great.
Yeah.
And that's when they start to shift and become coachable.
Right.
That's when they can start to taste the fact that I can be great.
Yeah. The thing is, one of the things we don't talk about a lot is compensation programs, how we compensate people. I'm all about, people always like, well, how do you motivate people? Well, let's talk money.
Yes.
Because that's why we love salespeople.
Yes.
And so I believe in putting together a well thought out compensation program. And that is one that really moves the needle up every year.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many companies I talked to when I said, do you give them a quota? Some say, well, they don't really have a quota, Victor. I said, well, that's a problem, right? Because they think by giving a quota, you're putting them on the spot. Yes, we are. But people want a sense of accomplishment too.
Right. Challenge.
Like, a challenge, right? The other is, they go, no, we gave them a number. I said, well, when you say you gave them a number, is that a goal or a quota?
Or commitment, yeah.
Yeah, they go, what's the difference? Well, if it's just a goal, it's what they aim for. If they hit it, great. If they don't, well, that's okay too. That's a goal.
Yeah.
A quota is you didn't hit it. You need to explain why you didn't hit it.
Right.
That's accountability. That's weight.
Right.
And so we designed a compensation program where I remember the one I used was you get a good base salary, not enough to make you feel satisfied, but enough to keep you hungry type of thing, right?
Gotcha,
You find a
gotcha.
number. And so then we designed a compensation plan where you didn't get a payout till you hit 50% of that quota. So for example, your quota is $1 million, right? You make simple numbers, 100,000 a year. You want to make 100,000. So I pay you a base salary of 50,000. Again, the 100,000 is what I think the industry is paying. Today, 150, 200,000, whatever it is. Let's use 100,000 simple, right? So I know that the average salesperson with your tenure, 3-4 years, is making 100,000, right? I need to make sure, I'm your manager. I need to make sure at the end of the year, we get you to 100. That's the responsibility I take as a manager. So I do care. Give you a base salary of 50,000. You will not see a payout to your first 50%. You got $1 million. So you sold, I don't know, let's say finally get to 500,000, right? I give you a little taste, a percentage. And I keep giving you percent as you move beyond 500. when you hit 100% of your quota, I give you 100% of your salary, which is another $50,000. So if you hit 100%, you'll make your 100,000.
Right,
You get the 50%.
right.
Now, after 100%, I put an accelerator. I make it go exponential.
Wow.
So even if you go to 103%, 103%, it shoots up real quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think that does to a salesperson?
Motivates them.
They want to push past 100.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they close out the year at 1.5.
Yeah.
And they made 150,000, just, with some spiffs or everything.
Love that.
Now, they get to 150,000, right? They're like, yes, I made 150,000. They're super happy. They made above the average, right? Question to you is, where do you set the quota for the next year?
150,000.
No, their quota. It's $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say 1.5.
That's right. Yeah. So, we would argue. I was like, I think I'll put you at 2. And they go, no, give me back to 1. So we negotiate, we get to 1.5. So what did I just do? I just moved the quota up $500,000.
Yeah.
And so now he has to hit 1.5 just to get the same 50,000. But remember, you don't punish them. But sales is like that. Sometimes you get a good quota, sometimes you get a bad quota. Our job as sales managers to make sure that if we got good salespeople, let's put them in a position to win.
Yes.
And make money.
Yes.
Like, for example, I've had people who fall a little bit short of their number, and I know they deserved it.
Yes.
And I said, all right, if you special incentives, spiffs, I would insert spiffs. All right, do this for me, do that for me, and I'll push you over the top so you can get that number.
Yeah.
We can do things. So I think compensation is a big part of motivation.
Huge.
And so you can tell somebody, you're the best, you're the greatest, you can do it, come on. But they got bills.
Last year, for a top producer, we threw a contest. We said, top producer of the office, on top of all your commissions, car bonus, weekly bonus, top producer going to get $50,000.
Right.
Our numbers went off the roof. Everybody pushed for that.
Yeah, because everyone wants that.
Yeah.
That's how we sold 14 to 98 million.
Yeah.
We just kept raising the quotas. Now, I think you remember this from the 10X conference. My boss told me, because he did the same thing to me.
Yeah.
And I said, what if I need more people? He says, Victor, you can have more people.
Right.
You can add as many people you want.
Yeah.
He says, but every time you add somebody, I'm going to add 2.5 million to your quota. So you got to ask yourself, was it 1.5 million? So when you hire somebody, I hope they're going to sell at least 1.5. That's your job to make sure they can sell 1.5 million.
I love that.
And that kept me honest.
Yeah.
So I didn't hire a bunch of people. And so when getting back to the original question in terms of, who do you keep, who do you get rid of? I had a guy named Joe. And I tell the story all the time because Joe was struggling, but he felt like good clay to me. Like, how you meet some people, you got it. It's just for some reason you're like 1 degree off center or something. Yeah. So what I did is I put him on a plan, a PIP, right? Performance Improvement Plan, I think is what they call it. But it was very simple. We were going after big contracts, big companies. So it was full B2B, complex sales. I said, you're going to go after 10 accounts only. Here are the 7 steps in the sales process. So it's 10 steps in the sales process, 10 clients.
Vertical, horizontal,
right? He says, I need you to, every time you talk to a client and you get in the first stage, you X out that box. You just show your progress and you just focus on 10. And I remember he was like, well, I found these other customers, like a week or two. I go, no, you only have 10. Go back. You work 10, you work the matrix. 10 clients, sales process, all the way through. Let me know where you're at. I want to be able to look at that matrix and go, here's where you're at.
Wow.
And what I did was I took his vision from here to like here.
Tunnel vision.
And then now you focus on that. It's like when we talk about verticals, right? If I said, you're going to focus in on just, let's say, what do you say, the healthcare industry? You had another
construction,
surveying,
right?
You do something like, dude, that's all you eat shit, construction. That's all you do, right? And so all of a sudden, people start seeing things they didn't see before because they were looking at too many things. Now, if all I see is construction, I'm starting to think like them. I'm starting to dream like them. Then they become better because they see the nuances of how the market works.
I love that. Now, when it comes down to sales coaching, sales management, sales leadership, what would you say is the most common blind spot sales leaders make when it comes down to building a sales business or working with a team?
This was interesting. I'm going to come at a totally different angle on this one. So I don't know if you're familiar with Theory X and Theory Y management skills.
No.
Okay, Theory X is command and control. All right, here's the job description. I need you to go out, hit the company, talk to them, like I did with Joe. That was total command and control. Just do this. Don't go left. Don't go right. Just go straight. Just do what I tell you. It's like I choreograph everything for you.
Command and control.
Command and control, right? Okay. So it's like I command you to do this. I control the process. This is what it's very tightly controlled, right?
Gotcha.
Then there's Theory Y. Theory Y is more of a delegative style. You delegate. Give you the two. I had a boss. First time my boss, no matter what I did, he always wanted to correct everything I did before proposals went out. The other guy, he didn't care as long as the numbers were right. Two different styles, right? So two different management. Command and control. Just give me the end results. I'm theory Y. I'm not going to control anything. I need a number.
Yeah.
I need you to get to that number.
Yeah.
You have any issues? Come to me. You need any tools? You come to me.
Gotcha.
You need a process? Come to me. You need me to fly in, help you with the presentation? Come to me.
Yeah.
But I want my number.
One is a mommy, one is a mentor.
Yeah. Okay. You can look at yeah, mommy versus mentor.
Yeah.
And so now, so you got those two styles, right?
Yeah.
Now let's look at the salesperson. You got two types of salespeople. Now, by the way, they can float between the two. Like you, for example, are times theory X and then sometimes theory Y.
Yeah.
But you have a dominant mode, whatever that is, right?
Right.
Now, salespeople are very similar. Now, instead of management styles, I gave them, the tortoise and the hare. You know the story about the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah.
Okay. The tortoise is slow and methodical. Very slow and methodical. Just, they have a speed. They're going to go at that speed, right? The hare, the rabbit, they're just all over the place. Like they're like, like I can crack all the time. They're just like, yeah. So, like when I was a salesperson, I was a rabbit.
Effective efficiency.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I'm everywhere. It's almost like I'm just like ADHD. I'm everywhere, as I mentioned, right? So there's two types of salespeople. Slow, methodical. Rabbits just get it done. Just get it done, right? They run. They're always looking for business. Where to find, right? Difference, right? The turtle, like, just go after this account. I'm working these accounts. I'm working them slowly. I'm getting them.
Yeah.
Now, here's where the matrix comes in, the 2x2 matrix. If you're a manager and you're theory X, command and control, you love turtles. Because turtles love directions.
Yeah.
Do this, choreograph stuff. Now, if you're theory X, command and control, and you have a rabbit, well, you're screwed.
Yeah.
That's the guy that wouldn't listen to me because he just wants to do it his way because he's a rabbit. He just wants to scurry.
Yeah.
He just wants to, he'll get to his number, just got to leave him alone. So sometimes that's the blind spot we have. We have a salesperson who goes, well, here, let's take the other extreme now. Theory Y. I'm a theory Y manager, which I am. I'm all end goal.
Yeah.
I don't care how you get there.
Just get there.
Rabbits love me. They go, dude, you work with Victor. He doesn't care if you're on the beach all week. It doesn't matter. As long as you get his number, he doesn't care.
Wow.
Which I don't, right? Now, the turtle's like wanting direction. I'm like, dude, I trained you. I sent you to a class. I brought in Victor to train you. Go do it.
Right.
But how do I? And he wants the steps. And that's a blind spot. So sometimes what happens is we take a rabbit and we promote a rabbit. That would be me. And I'm theory Y. Like, I told you what to do. Go do it.
Just do it, yeah.
And then we get irritated when the turtle asks us a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And so we see that a lot. Wow. And sometimes managers are like turtles. They get along with turtles, but they hate the rabbits. Well, he just won't do it the way I want him to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's a big blind spot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's just say you have somebody starting, right? Never done sales. They come from McDonald's, Taco Bell.
Yeah.
What's your first thing to fix with that person to get them good at sales?
One is you hire for will, right? Never for skill. Like I just want the one with the attitude.
Gotcha.
Like the one that can just, let's talk. I want that person. I can always train you on your the product.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay.
But, if I bring on somebody who doesn't have the, but knows the industry, well, that's a problem because we need people who are always in a positive mindset.
I agree.
Like when I meet somebody and they exude this positive vibe, I'm like, oh my God, I could train you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because now all I got to do is take that energy and just direct it.
I agree.
And so there was a study that was, I remember this. Yeah, I don't remember everything. There was a study that was done on training. And I thought this was interesting. What they found is that they took two groups, right? One group is that they threw them in right away, start selling, right? Then the other one, they said, no, we're going to train you for 3 months.
3 months.
Then, 3 months. Then we're going to send you in. Which team performed best, you think, on average?
Oof, that's a difficult one. I would say my gut feeling saying the one that prepared for 3 months. But for some reason, I'm going with the ones that jump in the water.
I think that's a smart move. I think it's smart.
Jump in the water.
Logic tells you I should go with that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got a feeling you're going to go this way.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. What they found is that the new hires didn't know what they didn't know, but because they had no fear. They just went for it, and they learned, and they listened, and they learned, and they listened, because when you don't know, you tend to listen more when you don't know.
Right.
3 months in, first of all, bad habits were established already because they haven't made any calls in 3 months, right? And then they thought they knew it all. So they weren't great listeners. And so that was one interesting experiment about how, the two work.
Right.
Now, one more study I think is interesting. They did a study with, in case you're thinking of, anybody's thinking of poaching somebody from another company. Here's what they found. That when they took, this was in the health insurance industry, what they found is they took a superstar and brought him into the company. And on average, it took almost 3 years for that person to perform at the same level they were performing at when you first poached them.
Wow.
And what they found is that when they looked at the numbers, this is really interesting. It's the title of the article is called Hiring Superstars. And I'll send you a copy of it.
Please.
So you can just share it with your team. What's interesting is they found that only 30% of your skill set is attributed to your success.
Wow. 30%.
The other 70% is your systems and your support for the company.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So when salespeople go, I did it by myself. No, you didn't.
Wow.
So and as soon as I read that study, I go, this is true.
Right.
Because I've lived that.
Yeah.
I go from I'm a superstar here, and then I'm struggling here. Why? You don't have the same systems and support.
Interesting.
And so it's something interesting to note that the systems and support within the company have to complement the 30% the salesperson brings to the table.
And that's where winning culture applies, right?
Yes, that's exactly it.
If you don't have that winning culture, you don't have that support, you don't have that mentorship, you don't provide training, you don't invest in your people, they're going to struggle. No matter how good they are, they're going to feel out of place. So how do you create that winning culture within your business?
One at a time. For example, when somebody was struggling, I would like literally, we talk about manager. Manager stands in front of you. A mentor stands next to you, right? Yeah. The manager says, where are the numbers? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? Where a mentor goes, how do we get you there?
Yes.
How do we get you to that number? So when I see somebody struggling, I go, well, walk me through what you're doing, and let's see if we can figure this out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I can assign a colleague. I said, okay, you know what? Jim over here is going to be your sidekick. Here's what that means, because he's also a sales guy. You have a question, I asked Jim already. Jim is cool with answering any questions you have.
Gotcha.
You don't ask Jim questions, Jim's not going to give you answers.
Yeah.
So you got Jim now, you got me. How can we help you?
Yes.
How can we help you? Now you start having a mentality where everybody wins.
I love that.
People go, oh, okay, he wants everybody to win. But you got to ask for help. Remember the whole thing about you got to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I would do is say, I stand next to somebody. If I see you struggling, I go, all right, walk me through where you're struggling. Let's see if we can figure this out like a mechanic. Let's see where the pieces fall. Where do we figure this out? And then all of a sudden you go say, I don't know. Make the calls. Let's walk through the script. What are you saying? Okay, because here. Why don't you use this script right here, because I know this script works. We always use this one. This one always works. All right, here's what I want you to do. Just run it through, say it 10 times, record that, send it to me. And then I go, here. You see right here where you say, or you drop confidence right here.
Yeah.
Let's fix that. So let's try that. And then you record a couple. Okay, good. Just implement that. Don't mess with anything else. Just do that first. And then tell me how you feel.
Yes.
After the call. Person's going to come back and say, you know what? That felt much better.
Yeah.
I could do that. Okay, so now we got that. I think so we're good. Are you booking more calls? A couple more. Okay, well, let's see what we got. Let's go. You know what I mean? And what you're trying to do is help them. What you're doing is training him or her, and they're going to train somebody else down the road. But they're going to say, okay, this company is all about trying to help the person get to the next level.
Yes.
Like, how do we get there? How do we make more money?
It's a push-pull system.
Yeah, because it's like, when I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, we're trying to make more money here.
Yeah.
And people are always like, well, the whole thing about money doesn't buy you happiness?
Yeah.
I agree with it, but money does buy you options.
Yes.
I always tell people, money buys you options. So if you want to send your kid to a public school or private school, you have an option.
Right.
You want to live in this hood or that hood, you have an option. So I love the fact that I'm a capitalist. Like, I'm an Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman capitalist.
Gotcha.
Right? Milton Friedman, the ultimate capitalist, free to choose, philosophy of capitalism, right? Ayn Rand, the philosophy of objectivism, where she pushes capitalism. And she says, capitalism is a value for value exchange. And we talked about that earlier, right? Now, the value for value exchange is powerful. Like, if I say, what do I sell? I sell communication bundles, right?
Yeah.
Technology, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I say it's more than that. I help businesses grow by providing fill in the blank, and this is how they make more money.
Exactly.
So I help you make more money, and then you on the other side say what? The same thing. What do you give me? Money.
Yeah.
I give you my services to help you make more money.
And you give me a percentage of that.
I take my money back
in
my payment. That's the value for value exchange.
Absolutely. I want to end with this because I think it's important. In one of your keynotes, you said after 20 minutes, people forget 75% of information. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, after one day. After one day. Yeah.
So how does someone who walks into sales, right? And we know that 95% of people quit within their first year in sales because they're afraid of rejection and all that stuff. How do you teach somebody not to forget that information? How do they retain information? Through what type of technique or strategy?
I have a whole course on that because I thought this was a really important part about, I call it speed to value.
Speed to value,
Speed to value is I need you to get you up to value where you're selling something. That's the speed to value. And so this is all based on psychology and it works. It's how our memories work. And so let me give you a tool. Because I think there's something called Mentimeter, like MENTI, meter.com. It's an online quiz thing. You take quizzes, right? And it's kind of cool. Everybody puts their phone, you scan the QR code, and it does a whole leaderboard and the whole thing. Here's why it's important. And it ties into this. Memory works this way. If you walk, let me give you a visual. You live towards snow, right? Or it snows, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
so
East Coast, yeah.
One person walks the path. You see some footsteps, right?
Yes.
2 people, 3 people, 4 people. After a while, it's compacted down, right?
Yes.
It's the way the brain works. That's neuroplasticity right there. What happens is, now, I teach you something, right? X, right? You walk out here, you don't think about X, right? The chances of you seeing that footprint in the snow, that link, maybe there may not be there. If it snowed, you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Now, if then tomorrow, again, I say, remember I talked about X? And you go, yeah, that's this, that. You go, okay. Now imagine that was another trace. Somebody else walked on it. Now I wait a week. Wow. And I do it again. And then you have to recall. This is all about recall.
Yeah.
Every time you force me to recall the information and bring it forward, it's another imprint. So our job is to kind of force them to recall. So now what if every time you did a training, right? At the end of the training, you want to do this right away. Go to Mentimeter, have the 10 things you wanted to remember. It'll be fun. It's a contest, right?
I love that.
And then next week you do some other content, right? Next week you do some other content, week 3. And at the end of week 3, you say, oh, by the way, it's a quiz. It's the one we did day 1. And now they're going to go, oh, crap. Now they're forced to remember because time has passed.
Right.
This is the important part. Time has to pass for them to forget a little bit before you do it again. And then it starts imprinting.
Okay. So it cannot be right
after
away.
the other.
Yeah, got
no,
you. Okay.
You got to give it time to decay.
Okay.
Because what will happen is I'll put it into short-term memory because you keep asking me about it. So it doesn't go into long-term.
Gotcha.
So I make it drift into long-term by having to recall it all the time.
It's almost like our brain has the reference file that we go back to it constantly and remind ourselves of it.
That's what it is.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like a top-of-mind thing. But yeah, use those. Anytime you can force somebody to remember this, something from I taught you a week ago.
Yeah.
And they go, I kind of know the number. Then you tell them the number. Wait another week and ask them again. They'll know the number. That's how you drill the content, the important pieces into them.
Victor, this has been so great. I have 100 more questions for you. We've done this for over 2 hours, just on and off conversation, recording, not recording. But I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here, giving me value, helping my people and everybody around us because you're amazing and I am very thankful for you.
Thank you for having me. You flew in just for me. Thank you for that. And thank you to the folks.